Hello, 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 Crafty Chris here for another Scrap Your Scraps Thursday night. Tonight we're going to be working on something that isn't really scrapping your scraps, but it's scrapping your leftovers. So what I have here is leftover paper from a farm pack, and I have a niece who is actually living on a farm and wanting to become a farmer, which is very cool. That is historically in our family way back. So it's kind of neat that she's going back to those things. So I have like a sticker sheet that I didn't use in another project, a couple of pieces of paper, some doodads and whatnots from the collection kit that were left over, some word bitty bits, and I had created a folio a while back, and so I'm going to be decorating the folio with this paper. Now, this is full sheet paper, but folios and little mini books and things are an awesome place to use up your scraps and your bits and pieces. So just because I'm using full paper, don't think that this isn't a project you can do with a bunch of scraps as well. So I'm literally just going to be covering these pages with paper. So with a folio, you want to make sure, I kind of messed up this folio and put things where they weren't supposed to be, but I'm kind of okay with that. But I did mess up on my pocket here. So I have some repair work that I have to be cognizant of when I go to mat this center section. I want the paper to go right to the edge. But on all the other pages, that one's going to have to go right to the edge too. On all the other pages, I'm going to have about a 1/16 of an inch border, or an 1/8 of an inch border around them, so that they have a little bit of a frame. So to get started, I'm going to look through my papers. I don't want to really cut this up yet because I think I have some photos that I can actually put using some of these border pieces, so that's going to be the last piece I use. These other ones, I'm not really fond of the chicken side because it's very pink, and I don't know that pink and farms go together, but I like the yellow. This one has sort of a quilted background, which is great if I was doing sort of like a homesteady thing, and if she was a bit crafty that way, but I'm going to use the back for that. This one again has all these little bits and pieces which are fun, but I'm going to start with using the backs. Now I love this one because it has sunflowers. Not keen on the back, but the sunflowers are beautiful. So that might be an accent piece, not really a background piece. Love the cow pattern, and it also has red on the back, so I can use both sides of that one. Gingham is always great for farm, and there's not really thrilled with the busyness of this side, so probably the gingham is the only thing I'll use on that, so I'll put that underneath. And these guys all have tabs and whatnots and sayings and doodads that can probably be cut apart. There's nothing really here with the exception of maybe the blue and the stripe that I might use as a background. So I'm going to have to figure those ones out as we go, because I may want to use some of these pieces, and if not, then they'll go in a pile for my next project. So let's get started with our outer shell. Now this is down on the farm, and I think I want to have the outside being the brightest color, and if we measure the whole outside of this album, it measures, just a moment, oh, I do have a measuring apparatus right on my desk here. So we've got 10, looks like, so 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 inches long. Okay, I was thinking about doing in one fell swoop, but I think I'm going to have to do it in panels. So each of these panels is about 5.5, just a little over 5.5. I want to leave 1/8 of an inch. So let's say it's 5.5. I'm going to just say it is. And I want to leave 1/8 of an inch, so that's 1/8 on both sides, which is 1/4. So I'm going to make the panel, front panel, 5.25 by, I'm going to do this 7.25. So my first panel, and I'm going to want to try to keep 5.25 by 7.25. So let's get the chopper. I'm going to use my, I'm going to use my guillotine for this. It doesn't really need to have a guillotine, but because the paper can be cut with a regular paper cutter, but I happen to have it handy, so I'm going to use a guillotine. Cut off my strip. This has pattern on it on both sides. Not thrilled with that. Likely will keep that for my junk pile, as you know. Now I have to decide which direction. So I'm going to have them oblong, horizontally. I need to not cut myself, but I need to have the arm out so I can measure my 7.25. Because I'm going to need a front and a back, and they're both the same measurements. So we're doing 7.25, the largest measurement for both sides, and I'm going to have 2 panels. So 7.25. There we go. And I said 5.25, so I can get 2 panels out of this. 5.25 and 5.25. Now, if I was doing something a little more vintagey or a little bit more of old-fashioned look, I might distress the edges, but this is very bright and perky and very what do you want to say, very contemporary, so I am going to just leave it the way that it is. Alrighty. Oh, I don't want to use that guy. I do need to have some tape. And I have one right here. There we go. Alright, so we're going to stick this puppy down, and I want to stick it fairly firmly, so I'm going to maybe do a little more adhesive on it than I normally would do, because it's the front cover, and you want to make sure that it is sturdy. So let's see. There we go, and there's my front cover. So I'm just going to flip over to the back, and I have my magnet here. I do not need this. I've already glued it down, so I'm taking off my repositionable tape. I did do a video of how to construct this album. I have added a few things into it, which I'll go over as we decorate the album. So if you happen to see that video, you'll see what I've added to it. There we go. All right, so we have our front and our back cover. Now we're going to need something to cover this as well. I have a piece that came off. It is in the wrong direction, so I don't like that. So we are going to take it off of this piece, and I'm going to leave an edge around it. So let's measure that. This is 1.5 inches, and so I'm going to make that 1.25 inches wide. inches wide. And I'm just going to trim that down, half on and half off camera. Okay, and that's going to fit in there like that. Beautiful. And I'm going to have to trim the edge. So I'm going to get my corner rounder. So I have these multi-corner rounders, and I am going to go in. I wonder how this will end up looking, but there we go. And sometimes it's very hard to line them up right. There we go. And then that will fit right in there all the way around. Isn't that cute? Okay, so I have some garbagey bits building up here, and I need to cut this. Put that to the side. I need to cut this 5 1/8, so 5 inches. I have my handy dandy big tool. This is the only problem with having a small workspace. But we all have that issue, don't we? Some of us are luckier than others. One day I will have that massive scrap room. But you can't stop working just because you don't have a massive scrap room. Okay, so now I'm just going to open this so that I can stick this down nicely. Whoop, wrong one. There we go. And this one I'm going to stick with a lot of glue because I want to make sure that I can fold it over. I want to really make sure. I'm going to line it up here. I'm a little bit off screen at the moment because I just want to center it. There we go. So this is my centering, and I need it to bend in a couple of places. So it needs to bend right there, and it needs to bend right there. I actually think I should have tucked it under just a bit. So you know what? We are doing that again. Because we can. I'll use this on the inside because on the interior I have another one. We are going to make this a little bit bigger, and it's going to get tucked under the original. So I'm not even going to bother taking anything off there. Just lift up my original paper, corn around my edges. There we go. And stick her down. I could stick her down with glue. That might also help. So I'm going to let that go underneath there. Line it up here. Whoop. So it's kind of even all the way around. There we go. And now it's going to fold nicely over that edge. There's one. Close it up. There's two. And you'll notice a bit of a buckle, which is why I just left that lightly sticking to the end. And there you go. And there's our strap, and it magnet sticks to the back. So this is your full page. And now we have to do the inside. Now the inside we're going to only take up to that edge. And on the inside, I'm not as worried about the direction of the paper. So I'm going to keep this for the waterfall that I have that has a strap. And I am going to take this down to 1¼ inches. Hopefully I'm lining that up well. There we go. And 5 inches I said, so we're going to cut that 5 inches wide. There we go. Corner around it. There we go. Oh. I have my garbage can right here to accept all falling materials. There we are. And that should line up in there. Oops, we're a little bit shorter. So I'm just going to trim that off with a pair of scissors. How much shorter do we need to be? It needs an inch shorter. Okay, so I'm just going to put that in. There we go. Make sure it has its fold. And now we have our finished strap. Okay, so now before this gets lost, I'm going to go right into the center where I have my waterfall. And here is my waterfall strap. So I am going to quickly add that right to the waterfall strap. Line it up, and it's going to fold over a little. So I'm going to trim that. Sorry, it's not even. I am a bit fussy. There we go. And there's our strap. So all of our straps are going to be the same background. So this is now going to have another side to it. So let me just flip this over and trim it to the edge. There we go. Ta-da! Oh, sloppy trimming, Chris. So you know what we're going to do? I should have measured that. So we're just going to line it up and trim it straight. And then line it up from the bottom. There we go. And it's all fixed. Ta-da! Beautiful. Okay, going back to our book. So we need a side strip. And that measurement is 1¼ so we're going to give it 1-inch strip for the spine. Now, do I want the spine to have the same cover as, or the same pattern? I don't think I do, so I'm thinking I'm going to wait. So we're going to put this stuff to the side. I'll figure out the spine afterwards. I might want to do the sunflowers down the spine. Nice little complement. Or I might do the red or the green or the blue or something else. So let's just leave that for now. Okay, So inside we have a pocket. Now this is where I built upon what I had done before in the video. So I created this little pocketbook that goes inside the gusseted pocket that comes with the folio kit. And all I did is I took a piece of paper. It's shiny paper because it's scrap paper, because I knew I was going to cover it. And I created a 5 1/4. Just have to remember what it was. 5 1/4. I created a 10 3/4 inch by 7 1/4 inch piece of paper, and I scored it at 5 1/4 on one side. Then I flipped it over and scored it at 5 1/4 on the other side. It left this little spine, and then I just created an interior pocket. So these two are another repeat, just slightly smaller. So I took a 1/16 of an inch off either side and scored it as well. And then this piece is just laid in, so it's measured 1/8 of an inch larger than I needed, and I split cut. So I have it adhered on this side and I have it adhered on that side. So it would end up not being centered. It would be all pushed to one side. So this way you've got things pretty much centered. And it's a nice stiff little booklet. Yeah, I've made it out of crappy leftover paper, but that's okay. I'm going to be covering it with the paper of my choice. And then I just created 2 pockets, one on the front, one on the back, a couple of cards made out of the same crappy paper. And I may just end up replacing this all together with cards that I made from the kit, and I'm going to put strings in them. So that's going to be like a whole separate thing that I will do once I've got the pictures that I'm going to be working with. So now there are points in the inside where you see the back panel. So you see the back panel here, you see the back panel here, across the top and the bottom and underneath, and then you see the back panel here, and if you pull these out you can see the back panel here, although that's a different back panel, so I don't think we're going to worry about that. We're going to talk about the background, and the back panel here, the back panel here, and then a pocket. You don't really see the back panel, so the pocket is a separate thing altogether. But we need to sort of address these issues, and because I know that I have some damage on the back panel in one area, I'm going to have to make sure that what I'm covering that panel with is going to cover the entire area. Now I think I want to keep it neutral, so I'm going to go for the green on the inside and the back panel. I don't really want to have too much pattern, or do I? Is this a good place to have that? Oh, I do like the red on the inside, or the blue on the inside. I think it's going to be blue, folks. Alrighty, so I am just going to trim out. Close my book for a moment. Oh, something stuck to my book. I'm going to take the zip strip off the edge of this, and I like that blue strip, so I'm going to use that at another time. Now let's take a look at this before I put my cutter away. This panel right to the edge is 5 1/2 inches. And we know that, if I'm not mistaken, this is 7 1/2 inches. Oops. It's 7.5. It's a little over 7.5 inches. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. It's 7 and 9/16. That's such a weird measurement. Okay, 7 and 9/16. I'm going to write that down on my pad here. 7 and 9/16 and 5. I've already forgotten. 5.5. 5.5. Just write that down so I don't forget it. That's why I like these pads. You can write things on it and not worry about it. So I'm going to need a panel to cover this. So we'll make that big cut first. And I'm going to do 5. I'm going to cut the smallest size first because I want to leave as much paper as possible. So there we go. There's 5.5. I just messed up. All right. Check your measurements first, Chris. 5.5 first. That's a shame. And then 7 and 9/16. Okay, so there's 2, 4, 6, 8, and 9. 7 and 9/16. And I don't mind if it's a little bit larger because I can trim it back. So that's the panel for there. Okay. Then I have this strip, but it kind of goes the whole distance. So this I have to accompany. So if, and it's just a little short. So that panel's on its own there. And I'm just trying to figure out how to patch a piece into this. So if we went across there, and then I could take a strip of this, go across there from here. But then that would be, yeah, that would go in the same direction. And then I need a small piece there. Okay, so let's figure this out. We need looks to me like 6.5 inches. I'm going to make it 6 and 2, 4, 6, 8, 9/16. 6 and 9/16, and we know that it's 7 and 9/16. Oh, that won't matter because we are not going tall. So 6 and 9/16. Let's do that cut first. 6 and 9/16. Okay, so that piece goes under there, and we're going to have to trim the bottom. And then we need, I can take from here because I think these guys now to follow the pattern are too small. So I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to cut this 6 and 9/16. 6 and 9/16. There we go. And that will go across the top like that. And then we just need 2 filler pieces. Okay, so let's get those guys put in first. I need some space. Alrighty, so that's going to fit right in there. Might even be just a tad too big. Yeah, it's about 1/8 of an inch too big, so I'm going to get my smaller trimmer. Just trim down that 1/8. too wide. Do that first, because you have to make sure it'll close, right? So if we have this down, that will close on that side. And beautiful. That works perfect. Alrighty. So we're going to stick adhesive on there. Oh, I should measure the length first. So that's going to go right up underneath. And it looks to me like I need to take off 1/4 of an inch, but I'm just going to draw a line so that I'll just trim on the inside of this line. Let's do that with a cutter. There we go. Trim on the inside of that line. There we are. Might be able to use that for a banner or something. So now we can stick this down. Just do a dry fit. Make sure we're still going okay. And this is going to need a score line right there. Get my score pad. The reason I'm scoring this is because it's an inside fold. If it's an outside fold, it's easier to let's see, 5.5. I'm scoring at 5.5. It's easier to fold over something than it is to fold something under, and that's why I'm using a score pad for the inside folds, because you want to make sure that they fold properly. There we go. All right. And I'm going to adhere this folded section really well. There we go. And I'm going to fit that in. Make sure that my fold is in the right place. And there we go. Awesome. Get that out of there so I can manipulate that fold. There we go. Okay, so that's the bottom. And then we cut this piece for the top. And we're going to have to trim that as well. And we're going to have to score that as well. And it looks to me like we will have to take a small amount off of this as well, if we're putting it in the same place. Yeah, we need to take off the same amount as we did before. So about that much. I'm just going to measure it against the bottom. Make sure we can take just a slim little bit more. Smidge, as my parents would say. Let's see if that works. Yes. Okay. And we're gonna do that at 5.5 again. Oops, I'm knocking things over. Okay, 5.5. Folding it over, making sure it's lined up. There we go. And now we can tape that really well. There we go. I'm going to slide that in the same spot, the top edge. I didn't really need to tape it all that aggressively. There we go, because I do need to trim it off. Oops, I'm crushing my... Alrighty, so now I'm just going to trim that off. What is the easiest way? Not left-handed, unfortunately. And this looks like a left-hand cut to me. And just go long scissors. For a long cut, you need a long pair of scissors. There we go. And this I'll use for something else. Stick that on my plate. There we go. Now I cannot use this piece for this because the pattern ends up going in a different direction, and that will catch the eye. I can patch as long as I don't catch the eye. And let's see what we have left over. That's too small. And these are much bigger pieces. All right, so I'm going to take from here to there is, where's my little guy? There we go. I'm going to measure here to there. Looks to me like 1 1/8. Yes. So that's 1 1/8, and it's got a fold in it. So this I'm going to have to, I think I might have to glue this one down to keep it from popping every time it folds. So 1 1/8 I need from this side. 1 1/8. There we go. And the distance is, let's turn this around so I can really see it accurately. And the distance is 2 1/16. 2 1/16. So that's an 1/8. That's a 1/16. I'd rather cut a little bit bigger, and I can always trim back. There's one. And that should fit that spot. So let's see how I did. Look at that. just a smidge. Just needs that little smidge that I said I could cut back a tad. There we go. That's what I love these small guillotines for. Perfect! Okay, that fits in perfectly. And I'm going to have to get my score pal here. And the distance that I am scoring is, looks to be 1 inch. So put it in here. Wait a minute. I'm scoring long. There we go. So where's my score thing? So I'm scoring at 1 inch. Okay. And I'm just going to carefully fold that over to give that fold line. So that it will fold nicely. And now I'm going to glue that down. All right, just using some quick dry glue. Making sure that I don't go right to the edge on that one side. And I'm just gonna, I don't want glue to really pop out. Okay. And we're gonna stick that inside there. And make sure that that moves. Now, I do have a little bit, I can see a little bit of a seam there, but I'll probably put something decorative on there, so a flat sticker or something. The important thing is that this folds. So I'm going to take my ruler, I'm going to jam it right in that corner and fold it up. There we go. Just let that dry a little. There we go. And with any luck, it'll stay glued down. Okay, and this one I just need a teeny strip. I can use the same paper. And it looks to me like 1/8 of an inch. Just double check. Yep, 1/8. I'm going to trim 1/8. And I've forgotten already what this was. So 1/8 by 2 1/8. So this is going to be tricky. I'm not going to use that one because it doesn't have measurement right up to the edge. I'm going to use this one because I can actually get my 1/8 cut line there. There we go. And 2 1/8, I think I said. Two 1/8. Don't mind if it's a little longer, just in case. All right, that piece can go in the garbage. This is the one we're going to glue in. You don't have to be this fussy. I am just this fussy. That just looks a little bit raggedy. Okay, so now I'm just going to put dots of glue, just little dots down there. Oh, here we are. And we're just going to stick that puppy in there, lining it up. With what's already there. There we go. And there it looks like it's completely covered. So this one we can now glue down. It doesn't need a fold line because there is no fold line for this one. We're just going to glue this flat to the back. We don't need to use glue because we're not doing any sort of, oh, I am out of glue tape. Let me go grab another tape. So we don't need to use glue on that one because it is already, there's no fold line, so we don't have to worry about it popping off. There we go. I don't know where I started and where I left off. I'm going to line that up with the edge. I may have to trim it a tad. Yeah, needs a tiny trim. So let's see if I can move it a little bit further in. There we go. Line it up with that top piece that I can see up there. There we are. Okay. And we do need a little bit of a trim along the edge. So I'm just going to do that carefully with my scissors. Hardly anything. Bottom is fine and the top is fine. So there we have it. Cool. Still closing. That's awesome. Perfect. Okay, so now let's see where else we have background. Have background here. And we do not have full sheets. So, and we have background there. So this is where we play around a little bit with joining pieces of paper so that we have enough of a background. So this is going to blow your mind. Well, I'm sure you've done this before. So I need to join two pieces of paper together to create one piece. And I just wonder, these have raggedy edges. So I'm going to go with the edges that are nice and smooth. Okay, so we are going to flip this over And we're going to tape it together with some tape, and then we'll cut the pieces that we need. So, lining it up at the bottom, running a piece of tape across, just need a little bit more at that one end. There we go. And now we have a larger piece of paper. We can see a seam. I don't think it'll be noticeable there. So this has no fold in it, and I think that looks like 3/4 of an inch, but let's measure. It is 3/4 of an inch, and this one looks like a 1/2 inch, and it is a little over a 1/2 inch. So that's 9/16. So let's do a trim for 9/16. These 8-inch long trimmers are really great for this kind of stuff, but won't be good for 9/16. So switch that around. And how's my scale here? Can't find it there. I may have to draw a line for this measurement. I don't really like this blade, but because it's getting a bit old. So from here to here is 2, 4, 6, 8, 9/16. Yep, we can do it on here. And 9/16. There we go. So that's 9/16, and I need 3/4 of an inch. There we go. That piece of paper can be put aside if we can use that later. And now we glue, or don't have to glue because it's not right on a fold line. I want as little of this as possible, so we're gonna, I might run my glue in here. There we go. And then line it up at the bottom. There we go. And then this one I'm gonna do sometimes you just need to fold a little bit to clear it out. Now this one is a pocket, but we're going to cover that up. And a little bit more of it. Put some on this side. There we go. A little bit more up there. And again, line it up with the very bottom. Run it all the way up. There we go. Fold it. There. Beautiful. And it looks like it's supposed to look. Alrighty, and then the pocket is separate. So we're going to trim the back of these guys. Again, just using our scissors. And make sure I don't cut anything else. I'm going to use my small ones for this because And there we go. Do, do, do. Open, open, blue, blue, blue. All right. So let's make sure we still can close everything up. Oops, something going on there. There we go. And it still closes up. I always want to make sure there's nothing preventing it from doing that closing bit. Alrighty. So now we have all of these other panels that we want to work on. We're going to leave this one for last. This is an interior panel, even though it looks like it's part of the outside. So let's see what we want to do with our interior panel. I think I like the red. And so let's see how many of that interior panel do we need to cut. I'm going to take these guys out of here. This is another pocket I created. It was the original pocket that came with the kit, and then I just created these large cards that go in it, and they're sized so that they step down and they sit inside there. And then I did the same but a larger step on this side's pocket. And again I did 3 steps down on this pocket, this little pocket. Match these ones because they're in the same location, and one big one for that one. But that's up to you what you want to put in there. So now let's see what we've got going on here. We have this side and this side. I'll leave these here. This side and this side. So I think I want the back separate from the front. So I want to have 2 patterns. Should we do the cow pattern? The red and black look very good together. So I'm going to do red and black here, and red and black here. So we'll start with that. And we'll take down, it'll be the same measurement because we're just going to tuck it into the pocket. So this is 5 inches wide by, got that sticky guy. This is slightly shorter, I think. 5 by 7.5. Alrighty. So let's start with the Moo Cow. 5 by 7.5. 5 by 7.5. Let's just do 1 5 by 7.5 to start. Big cutter out. Take off. Outer edge. And left a little bit of the white on there. There we go. So 5 by, I'm going to do 5 first. There we go. 5 by 7.5 for that one panel. And I think that one can actually go on the other panel. So let's see how that works. So this is 5 by 7.5. I might have to trim it down to accommodate. Whoa! I only did 7. All right, so if you run into a problem, you fix it. I only cut this by 7, so I'm matching the pattern on the front, and I'm going to tape it together. bit crummy taping job. Okay, so 5 by 7.5. Yeah, I was a half inch off on that. I only did to 7. I'm going to pay more attention to my cutting. 7.5 is what I wanted. I'll tuck that missing edge inside the pocket. There we go. There's 5 by 7.5 goes in there. I'm going to have to jut out for that one. And then this one, yeah, so that can go there. And then this one, I'm going to have this up at the top and the red at the bottom. And that's going to, the red is going to go in the pocket here. Okay, perfect. So that will work just fine. So let's do some augmenting here. This guy needs to be just a bit shorter at the bottom, smidge shorter at the bottom, and I have to cut in at a particular point in order to cover this whole messy side. I have to cut in right where the tip of the pocket starts. Okay, I've got my cut in, and I'm going to take a 1/16 of an inch off there. So I'm going to just eyeball this, take a 1/16 of an inch up to that cut line, and I'm going to take a little bit off the bottom. Maybe I should cut that in. So this now fits there. Just checking my measurements. No, that should work. Let's see what happens when we get it in the pocket. Yeah, I need to cut up a bit here. So I'm just going to take a 1/16 of an inch off at the bottom edge here. So it's a little bit of play. And in order for that to fit over the edge over here, I need to trim in about a 1/16 of an inch. All right. So I'm just custom fitting this to my pocket, only because I've got a bit of a mess with the you know what, that corner is causing me a problem. Alrighty. There we go. Now that's fitting in beautifully. Don't really need that little bit at the end there. Okay, so custom measured just because I had to cover up this mess that I made. I'll show it to you. Not very proud of it, but all that tearing, because I put it on upside down. Yes. I too can make mistakes. All right. So now let's get our tape runner. Desk is getting messy. I think I'll move. There it is. And this is just a background, so we don't need to worry about it being too permanently stuck. Alrighty. The most important part is the part that we can see. So that's the part I'm paying the most attention to lining up. There we go. And I should have used glue on this one. Because it's picking up a bit. Okay, so there's that on that side. And now I just need a little piece to go in here. I'm gonna maybe take, let's see. Yeah. This I don't have to worry about covering up as much. So I'm going to take about two inches across. Maybe an inch and a half. No, let's make 2 inches just to be safe. And I'm going to take about a 1/16 of an inch off. So I can get it inside that pocket. Need to take another smidge off. You know what? I am actually going to take more than that. I want to have a barrier around this one. So this is 5. I'm going to make it 4 3/16. 4 3/16. Oh, 3/16 from 5. So I'm making that 4 and 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13/16. And that will give us a little bit of a border around it. So when we glue it on the inside, we'll actually have a border around it, and it will show up under here because this is going to have paper on it too. So these guys, because I don't have to cover the damage, I can just have a border. Oops, went over a bit. There we go. Slipping that in just a little bit. Having that 1/16 of an inch border all the way around. A little too much on that side. There we go. And I need to trim a tiny bit off of this side. All right. And now I can see that. There we go. That's our cow. And let's also do cow on this side if we have enough. So that's going to go in there. Beautiful. And I'm going to put my red on there, but I can put these guys, my waterfall, or my stepping down tags in there. They're kind of tight. Might have to thin those out a little. Okay. And now this can use on there, and the red can go in the background. I'm going to do some more cow here. Again, I have to cover this up. So that's going to be 4 and 15/16. 4 and 15/16. Put that to the side. And measuring again. There's my big ruler. There's my little ruler. I have lost my big ruler suddenly. Weirdest thing. I know there's organizational thingy-jiggies that you can have to keep all your tools in front of you so that you can just lift and put the tools back where they belong. Oh, there we go. I need to get myself one of those. And this is 7.5 already. Put you over there. I'm going to take all this paper, put it somewhere else. So 7.5 long. And I'm changing the paper upside down so the pattern will be different. 7.5 long. There we go. That goes in there. This I don't even think I need because I'm using the other piece. Which I may have already lost. Okay. Oh, there it is. This is the piece I was looking for. Okay, so again, I'm just going to modify this slightly. I'm just going to take, let's see, I need like a 1/16 off the bottom. 1/16 off the bottom. There we go. And I'm going to cut off this corner because it's causing problems with how everything fits in. There we go. And then I have to trim at that point, a little cut in so that it fits properly, making sure I'm measuring and everything is lined up properly. And I just need a little cut in there. And then I am just gonna cut literally a 1/16 of an inch off to that point. So this will fit like a glove. And whoa, it does. See, once you've done it once, it's super easy to do it a second time. There we go. All right, so that's good to go. Let's glue that one in. And again, doesn't have to be super, maybe there it does. Just want to make sure that I have it all lined up. With the top edge. And there we go. Make sure it folds over without impeding. Yep. And we're good. So there's our other pocket. So there's our 2 pockets. All right. Have to put the red on, and now I'm going to put the moog on here. And that is exactly the right width. I just need to measure the length. So that's completely covered. This, did I do damage on here? No, I did not. So this I can do a little bit of a border. So the measure is 5, so I'm going to do 4 13/16. So let's get that one done first. 4 13/16. So we have a little bit of a frame around it, and then again we want a frame around here, so that's going to be, this measure is 2, so 1 13/16. 1 13/16. There we go. And this piece I'm going to keep. This one not so much. Okay, so that will fit here, and it goes nicely surrounded by a frame. And let's line that up. There we go. And then once you get your papers in there, you'll be able to see the frame better. Okay, so now we're moving on to this one. This one's a little easier. Making sure we trim off our border first. There we go. Okay, so now this one needs six by, so I'm going to do 5 13/16 by 4 13/16. So let's start with 4 13/16. 4 13/16. By 5 13/16. There we go. So that's going to cover this one with a little bit of a frame. And how big you make your frame around your papers is completely up to you. I use generally a 1/16 of an inch so that you can see a nice frame around the edge. Okay, this one I'm going to cover. Oh no, I can do a piece in there. I'm going to do this big one first. I think that might fit in there. Oh my gosh, look at that. It's like it was meant for it. Beautiful. So we're just going to glue that one right in. Sometimes things work nicely that way. Make sure I have my frame around the top and the sides. Lining it up with my pocket. There we go. This is all happy. Whoop. I'm going to need to slim these down just a touch. So, just slim them down. Let's see, 4 1/8. So I make that 4 1/8. And this one, is slightly wider than the rest, of course. 4 1/8. There we go. No, that's too slim. 4 5/8. There we go. And I'm just going to round those corners really quickly. That's my other corner rounder. So just taking these and doing the other side. Bring that, get it back in the drawer. Getting all my little bitty bits. Throwing them in the garbage. Alrighty. And these guys now should fit in there much better. Yes. There we go. Nice and rounded. Okay. I can move it over a little bit so you can see the red around them. There we go. Nice. And now I just need to do these guys, and this is going to be a square that I'm going to cut in a triangle. So this is 5 inches. So I'm going to make it again 4 13/16. We don't have any left over that, right? Because that worked out perfectly. Yes. Okay. 4 13/16. Nope, I don't need to take that off. So I need to do this one 4 13/16 because it is a square. 13/16. There we go. Now I'm going to cut it on a diagonal, lining up my tips as well as I can. This is always the challenging part, making sure those tips are as close as possible. Good. Now, I think I'm going to have to take off a bit because I have taken it from the side, but now I need to take like an 1/8 of an inch or a 1/16 of an inch off along that edge so that I have that white frame again. And I'm just going to take off the red that's on here, and that should do it. So I just taken off like a 1/16 of an inch there. And now I should get a frame of white all the way around. Perfect. And that's what we want to see. Let's put this one down. And I'm going to have to fold over that adhesive just tuck it in. There we go. And line it all up. There we are. We've got our corner. Now, if you wanted it to go vertically and horizontally, you would have had to play with the paper a little bit to figure that one out. But I just took what I had. I'm going to take that red off again, off this side. There we go. And it takes a bit of time to do this, but it's well worth it in the end because it looks very custom and well put together. Look at that nice border you have around that white. Okay, so these are done. This is done. This is done. These need to be done. This is done. This is done. And now we just have a few other pieces, and then we have to think about getting our photos in there, because these are all going to be photos. And that's it. So we're almost there. Okay, we have a nice big piece of this that could fit there perfectly, with a little bit of a border. Look how nice that looks. But then the question is, I think I might put that on there because that fits perfectly too. And I think I might put a sticker in there of some sort, like a journal spot or something. So I'm going to leave that white. So I think we have everything we need here. The only thing that I'm a bit concerned about is how we're going to cut this out. So I probably should have thought of that before I put the book together, but I didn't. Alrighty. So I'm going to have to do this manually. So this takes a lot of thinking. So let me put you into frame. So first of all, this paper is going to have a wider border around it because of the size of paper I have. So I have to trim that first. So I get my little trimmer out. I've marked where I have to trim. Line that up. And there's that's a little piece of paper, so we're not going to keep that, although you know me. So this now is going to give me a frame all the way around that is more or less the same. And now I have to mark where I've got to cut in. So there's that. And there's that. So cutting in here and here, and then I've got to figure out, I just thought of something. Oh goodness. Sometimes I can be inspired. Okay, so that is going to go there and there. May not work out super accurately, so I need to have this bottom needs to have the same size frame. And I'm just kind of gonna mark a line here. And hopefully that will make it all happen. So, wish me luck on this one. This could end up messing up this paper altogether. And I'm going to cut down from that point around and along this line. Now this wouldn't work if you were making the paper the exact same size, because you wouldn't have any room to shift it. So how did we do? Oh my God, that is a little bit big, but you know what? It's not horrible. I can live with that. Oh, that's crazy. I'm going to keep that. It's crazy how that worked. I didn't even think ahead as to what to do about that, but that is awesome. I'm so thrilled with that. So literally, whenever you run into an issue where you've got to cut out like a cutout like that, make sure that you leave a border around it, so you have some room to shift when you get it inside to try to it's not perfect, but you know what? I can live with it. I'm going to pull it down just a little bit more this way. This way. I can live with it. There we go. That is crazy how easy that was. And then this piece is going to fit in here with a little bit of trimming, and I'm going to make sure I have the same measurement. And the measurement is upside down. Oh my gosh. Okay, so that is 7 3/16. I just lost my tape. 7 3/16. So 7 3/16. 7 3/16. I may have to trim that down, don't know. Let's see how that works. Okay, so now I need to trim down this side. That's 2 and 5/16. 2 and 5/16. So there we go. Whoops, wrong way. 5/16. Okay, just a little bit off there. I think that will work. And then we're going to round 2 of the corners. I'm just doing this off camera so I can get it in my garbage can. And there we go. Whoa, that worked out pretty well. Now I think I need to take another 1/16 of an inch off there, because it's just a bit too long. Does that look even? There we go. Just need a little more white showing, because the bottom one has quite a bit of white showing. There we go. Beautiful. Now I know that this has taken a while, but it is certainly doable at a crop. And if you notice, we've just been a little bit over an hour. I know it seems like it might have been a little longer, but it isn't. There we go. Beautiful. Now I do need to cover the inside of that because I want it to kind of go inside. So maybe this is a place for the green. Maybe it'd be fun to have some of that popping out. Now, let's stick with the green. So I'm going to put the green on the inside of that. What about the sunflowers? Sorry. Popping out of there. Do I like that? I'm having trouble with the color. Color just doesn't seem to go with the what's going on there. Yeah, I think I need to stick with the green. Okay. Do those primary and secondary colors. And then all the rest can be played with. I kind of like how that is, and definitely can use that. And now, I love, that's going to go there, and it's going to get taken away. So maybe I will put that on this side. So I'm going to cut this horizontally. And I need to cut, I'm going to say 5 inches off the side to start with. And then we know this is, oh, we don't know really. So let's measure 7.5. I don't need 7.5. I need 7 and 7.25. So we're going to take this to 7.25. There we go. Now, we're going to have to trace again. So that's going to fit in there. And we're going to have to trace again. So all that works really well. Okay. Gonna have to ignore this. That's gonna get in the way. Anyway, all right, so we're gonna have to trace this top edge again. So let's just fold that and fold that. Now, I'm gonna mark my sides like I did the last time. First of all, let's stick this with some repositionable tape so it doesn't shift around. And then I can move my album back and forth around it, and it won't shift. Okay, so if I am going to, I'm going to have this on either side like that. So this paper is going to be there, so I need to mark there, and I need to mark there. Okay, those are the points at which I am going to cut. All right, and this is a little more awkward because it's sticking out rather than in. Now, take this here. I need to measure this way. Now I need to measure. So that's going to be there, like that. Okay, and then this is where I have to go to. So this has to come up there. I have to shift it over. Whoops. Get my repositionable tape. I'll stick that down there. So what I'm doing is I've lined up and I'm just taping this down so that my marks where my drop back into the card are going to go, and I have to trace now. This is not making, so I have to trace this arc, but I needed to do that on the other side. Yes, so let me run you through that again. So what I did, because this is an outer one, I put this up about a 1/16 of an inch down from the top. I marked in about the same distance on either side. Then I lined this up with that spot again, and I marked where would be about an 1/8 of an inch down from either side. So we have, this has now got an 1/8 of an inch distance, this has an 1/8 of an inch, and this has an 1/8 of an inch. Okay, now I have to turn this and trace, which I did, but it's on the back. Shouldn't matter actually. So then what I did was I lined up those points that I made here and here with their 1/8 of an inch down, and then I taped it 1/8 of an inch down, 1/8 of an inch down. Then I flipped it over and I traced this curve. Okay, because I know where I'm cutting in here and here, I just don't know where I'm going up. So now this is going to be a little tricky. So now I have my curve here on either side, and I have my points at which I enter into my curve. So we're going to see how well this works out, because it is tricky to do when it's still able to fold that together. So I'll take my repositionable tape off. All right, I need little scissors. Now I'm going to go in along this line, because that's the line, but I don't want to go in too far. Just want to go along the line so I know where I'm starting and ending. I don't want to cut too far in, because if I do, then when I go to cut my arch, I may have cut into that area, and I don't want to do that. So I've cut, that's telling me how far I had to shift down. And then I can take this and cut my so now I have my one side cut, and I should have gone a little bit further there. Oh well. And now I have my other side cut. And with any luck, it's going to work. So let's see. This is going to go in there. Not so much. So I'm going to cut a little bit more in, because there's where my inlines are. Haha. Okay, so now I'm just going to trace that. So I'm literally just going to draw it. So I have to curve here, come down there, and curve here, and come down here. And that should fix it, because I have to get this bit off, because those are showing me where my edge is. Oh, I have a spider on my desk. That's unfortunate. Don't really like spiders crawling in my work. Oh, look at you. Okay, I don't like to kill spiders, especially online. He's over here. I don't know if you can see him. There he is on my desk. Sorry, spider. I can't work with you on my desk. I'm afraid I'm going to have to get rid of you. Ah! Oh, they're jumpy. I apologize for anybody who's into saving the lives of spiders, but sometimes you can't do that. Okay, be brave, Chris, be brave. All right, let's see how this worked out. So now, if I stick that inside, ah, look at that. Just around those two corners. Look, it worked. So you just kind of have to play with it until you get it right. I'm going to round my corners off camera for a minute. All right. And then we're going to stick that in. Make sure it goes in and lined up. And there we go. Like, is that crazy or what? Oh, I forgot to... Yeah. You know what I forgot to do? These lines. So I better get my guy again. And I'm going to score at... It's my big one. I want my little one. Move that over there for now. I'm going to score at 3 1/8. Okay, I got glue on the bottom of this, so I'm just going to make sure I've got this nice and straight. 3 1/8. Whoa! And then a 1/4 inch. 3 1/8. Just double check that that's a 1/4 inch. So this should be 1/4 inch, and it is. Where's my book again? And 1, 2, 1/4 inch. Oh. Both those lines in. There we go. And I think I'm going to have to put some adhesive along there, just so that they will stick well. And then fold this line down. It would have been easier to do this without the tape, of course. And we're just going to stick that in there, that in there. Come on, come on. And we're going to fold. Line up our fold line. And make sure we have some space. Okay, that should, whoops, we're too high. We're a little high. That's okay. I just want to make sure it all folds. Glue on my fingers. And there we go. Done. Done like dinner. Let me show you now. See how nicely that is covered? Look at that. A lot. The magnetic still works. There. Beautiful. Okay, so then only one more to go. Side and side. We'll do both sides. We can do some patchy, interesting, fun looking things. Let's try this side because there's some cow on this side. Why don't we do something like this? A little bit of cow up at the top, cow at the bottom. We could do that. Or we could do green and cow. Green and cow, it sounds like. Green and cow. Or we could do some blue and cow, or blue and red, or blue, red, and cow, blue, red, and green. Blue, red, and green. Do I like that? Blue, red, and green. I actually like that. Let's do that. Okay, so we're only going to take a little bit of this. And it's the right width. So, and this is the right width. So let's see, we have this, and then this. I want this to be the same width, and this width is 2 3/8. So this is, we're going to cut into 2 3/8. First, let's do this measurement. So I'm just putting this in there. 2 3/8. Okay, that goes there. And now we're doing 2 3/8. There we go. Make sure that's the right measurement. Okay, Let's line that up. It's not quite 3/8. There we go. So those two should be more or less the same. Yep. These guys can go in the paper pile. And we're going to do some green. Now, how much green are we going to need? Let's figure it out. So we have 2 3/8. We're going to leave a 1/16 of an inch all the way around. So we, looks like we just need the same amount. 2 3/8. And this is going to cut this way. 2 3/8. There we go. So, which do I like it? This way? Or this way? Or this way? Ooh, I like it that way. Wow. That was awesome. Now let me just make sure how much I need to... Okay, I'm going to stick this all together just so I can make sure that I can center it on the page. And take a little bit of repositionable tape. And the only purpose for this is just to get it centered on the page properly. So it's not going to be sticking it down for any reason, but just so that when I put it down, it will all line up properly. Okay, so now should probably have a little bit over those seams. All right. And, whoops, a little bit hanging over. Now, we are going to line it up. With the edge. And there we go. That's that page done. And now we just have this pocket to do. I think I want a little bit of moo on this pocket. Or do I just put a little bit of moo along there? And then maybe yellow? Moo and yellow? Moo, yellow, and then something else there. Let's see what I got. Moo, yellow, and green. Moon, moo, green. I like that. I'm going to waste some paper here, unfortunately, because I like this saying. So do we do moo, green, with a little bit of yellow in there? Moo, green, and yellow. What do you think? Yeah, let's do it, because we can. All right, so the moo, we're going to keep the width that it is. And we are going to just eyeball. No, I probably shouldn't eyeball. I think the insides are a little different. So let's see what this inside is. This inside is 7 and 7/8, if I'm not mistaken. Turn this properly. Seven and 7/8. So we are going to make it 7 1/4. That's what we're shooting for. Whoops. And something that will actually cut, not score. 7. Oops. 7 1/4. Like that end. 7 1/4. Oops. There we go. Now, I could just layer this, but I don't want to add more layers to the book. So I am going to figure out what the exact measurement is for the next thing. We know 7 1/4 is the length, and we need to leave some white. So we're going to do 2. It's going to be 2 5/16 by 7 1/4. And I can have that up there. I can save some 2 and I've already forgotten. Where did my piece go? So you're going to go on there. And this is going to be 2 and, now it's saying 2 1/8. No, 2 3/16. 2 3/16. So we're going to cut this 2 3/16. 2 3/16. There we go. That can go away. And then I want that to be sort of up a bit. So we're going to cut there, just random, and I need 7 1/4. 7 1/4. Okay, there we go. Those pieces can go in my pile. And then I have to do, that's a 1/2 inch strip, so we're going to make it 3/4 of an inch, which is usually the size of the actual metal on the cutter. So we're going to do that. And this is going to be 7 1/4. Whoa, that didn't look pretty. Yeah, I almost trimmed that on a circle. Okay, this goes here. And put this away. If something has fallen on the floor, you need to make sure you pick up stuff so it doesn't get lost. Alrighty, and let's put this all together. It's not the one I want. This is the one I want. Actually, we can put these two pieces together like one piece, like I did before. That will help us to line everything up. So again, I'm just sticking down random pieces of repositionable tape that I have lying around. And now I'm looking and it's not exactly equal, but that's okay because we're going to be centering it. Alright, and now I'm going to center that within that pocket. There we go. A little not centered. There we go. And now we're going to take this guy and just insert him in there. Like that, over top of that little lip. And lining it up. Whoops. A little bit of tape sticking out there. Lining it up. And there we go. Isn't that cute? Alrighty. And this guy goes in there. And can't really see. So you know what? I'm going to pull that yellow out just a little bit more. So I'm going to find my little tool, my handy dandy tool that helps me lift things, which I have lost twice this week and found after I needed it. It appears that I'm going to run into that same boat again. So that's okay. Got a pair of tweezers. That'll work too. So I'm going to bring this out to the edge a little more. Turn it around so you can see it better. I want to see more of this yellow. All right. So this then can go in there. And it's not perfect, but I do see a bit of that yellow. And this we're going to put a tag on. And that is it. So we have done the entire book. Oh, we forgot our spine. Okay. So our spine needs to have something. What are we going to use on our spine? Do I use a little bit of that? Yeah, I kind of like that, you know. Okay, we're going to trim this. Take off the border. And we're going to do a long, thin strip. And we have to figure out what that measurement is. So this is 1 1/4, so we're going to make it let's make it 1 inch strip. One-inch strip. Let me do it this way. Much easier way to do it. There we go. This goes to the side. And this measurement, I forget what it is, because it's bigger on the outside than the inside. And this measures 7 9/16. So we are going to make it 7 3/8. What if we do that? 7 3/8. Let's try 7 3/8 and see how that works. 7 3/8. Do I have enough of that in there? Yep. 7 3/8. There we go. Now you remember when you have pattern paper and you're cutting it, sometimes you cut off too. You don't cut what you want to see necessarily. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. I don't know if this is going to be enough for me to see that. Yeah, it should be. But keep in mind your what it is you really want to see on there, because you can lose it in your cut. Okay, these little pieces, too small. This is okay. And let's get that stuck down to the back. I'm going to open it right up so I can do it nice and flat. Oh, forgot that inside too. Anyway, I won't drag you into that inside. You have been through the process, more or less, of how to get around some interesting little problems that you may run into. You do know about how to measure your materials. And you see that is just a bit too long for me, so I'm going to take about 1/8 inch off there. There we go. That fits in better for me. And so you can do this one on your own. I may end up using some more of that flower paper in there. And that's basically it. So other than this side and this side, which I think I'm going to go with the flower pattern, this album is now ready for photographs. Now, look what's happening here. I need more adhesive. So I think I may glue that down to keep it down better. Anyway, that's it for me. We've been online now a long time. So I'm going to say goodbye and thank you for joining me, and see you next Thursday.